Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start a talk with telling you that 1 in 3 people on this planet do not have a decent toilet. This is not something you probably think of when you wake up in the morning, but I can tell you it's a very, very big deal. Because not having a toilet means getting diarrhea way more often. And diarrhea kills. It kills in particular small children. In fact, 500,000 small children die of diarrhea every year. The answer is uber simple. The answer is like, let's get them toilets, right? It's so easy. And yet it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at all. So you're wondering with yourself, like, what is so difficult about this? And why don't they buy toilets? Well, sorry. Last time I asked this question, it was in Tajikistan a few weeks ago, despite my belly. And this man, his children, his grandchildren, none of them had seen running water or toilet. And I asked him, imagine for a second you had all the money you wanted to invest into a bathroom, what would you buy? And guess what the answer was? For sure it wasn't toilet. It was this. I like a bubble bath. And you're like, whoa. You're like, with the duck and the lady inside? Or, you know, like, and you're wondering, what is wrong with it, with him? Like, he needs a toilet, right? Perhaps his answer has something to do with this, right? This is what we're trying to sell him. And the picture doesn't look pretty, but I can tell you that this is, by development standard, considered as an improved sanitation. Yeah? And guess what he says when we try to sell him that stuff? He says, whoa, it's too expensive, I don't have the money, come on, right? And you're like, whoa, wait, I just saw a motorbike in your courtyard, and I saw a TV in the living room, and I saw a couple of mobile phones. Don't tell me you don't have the money, right? And so you're wondering, what is he really trying to tell me? Well, it's not so difficult to imagine. Anyone in this room would just think like this old man. Let me challenge you. Imagine you don't have enough money to sell everything you want, to buy everything you want on this planet. I'm sure it concerns most of us, right? So when was last time you saw that little pretty dress or the last iPhone or whatever you dream of these days, right? And you don't have enough money to pay it. You're going to start saving something on something. When I was a student, I saved on food to pay my trips. And I could eat pasta on weeks of pasta, the cheapest I could find in Migros, right? And my mom would go crazy. She's like, you have to eat fruits, you have to eat vegetables, what's wrong with you? You think I was, disturbed by what I was doing? Not at all. Did I ever regret these broccolis? Never, right? Would I do the same again? Probably. So, what I'm trying to say is that when people tell you it's too expensive, they probably tell you it's something else. In my career, I figured out that probably what they tell you when they tell you it's too expensive is 3 things. I do not value the stuff you're trying to sell me, I do not trust you, or I do not need what you're selling me. And let me give you a few concrete examples about what I mean. First, on value. Do you know that the recycled clothes you send to charity in Europe or to Africa or wherever are not appreciated at all? In fact, most of these clothes end up to mop the floors. Seriously. You might find this shocking, thinking, oh my God, these are poor people. We send them all these clothes, and they don't appreciate it. Well, just step back a second. Imagine you're invited to a birthday, a good friend of yours. And in your closet, you have this nice dress. You never worn it because not quite your size, but would fit her perfectly. Would some of you recycle that dress as a gift? Perhaps some of you would, very pragmatic, right? But you would not tell your friend that this is a recycled gift, right? I don't need to explain to nobody why. Your friend would feel upset. Well, why poor people should feel any different? Just because they are poor? Not really, right? And so, let me give you a very cool example of people who cracked this problem. What they did is they organized a lottery. So they organized this nice little event, sold the tickets, not for free, sold the lottery tickets. You know, everybody comes in, and one of the biggest prizes is that huge bundle of clothes, right? I can tell you that the winner of this bundle feels lucky when he wins it. Because first, he's truly lucky, he won it and nobody else, right? And he won something that everybody else in the room had paid for to try to win, right? So the issue is not about how cheap or free we make these clothes, but the issue is whether the people value or not what we give them. Second problem, trust. Right? This is a problem that comes again and again. And to illustrate this point, let me bring you to Africa. And to one of my preferred entrepreneurs who is trying to commercialize efficient cook stoves. For those who don't know, efficient cook stoves are, cooking devices that burn way less fuel and generate way less smoke. Why is it important? Well, because we're chopping trees like crazy, and millions of people are dying out of respiratory diseases every year, including moms and kids, right? And this is the story he tells when he tried to first time commercialize his cook stove. He arrives in the first village, makes the best sales pitch in the universe, very African, and then nobody wants to buy. And the answer is like, too expensive, it's $3 more than at the market. And I just bought one, and it doesn't look so sexy, it looks like the stuff I have at home, I'm not gonna buy your stuff. It's like, okay, ladies, who is the best 2 cooking ladies in the village? So, big discussion, picks up 2, gets them cooking, the same recipe, just 2 piles of charcoal, his cook stove, their cook stove. At the end, the result is very obvious. The food tastes the same, everybody enjoys, but 1 pile of charcoal is high, 1 pile of charcoal is low. He's like, no, now you see what I'm trying to tell you. Who buys? Only one lady, the one who cooked on his cook stove. It's like, okay. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to leave 10 cook stoves here, right? I'll come back in a month. Only one condition. All the money you spend on charcoal, you put into that, tin, guinea pig bank. Don't touch it. I come back in a month. He comes back, gathers everybody, opens the tin, is full of dollars, right? Even the ladies who had been saving are surprised by how much money there is in there. And he's asking now, who is buying my cook stove? Guess what? Only the 10 ladies who could test the stoves, nobody else. And he was like, okay. So let me give this deal to everybody in the village. You can keep the cook stoves for 1 month on trial, right? But it will be more expensive. 10–15% more expensive. Guess who went for that deal? Everybody. Doesn't that sound crazy to you? The same people who were selling at the beginning, oh, it's too expensive. These same people are now ready to pay even more, right? And how do you explain that? Well, my grandparents, who were modest people, could very well explain that. They would say, they are too poor to afford something cheap. What does that mean? It means that when you have little money, you cannot get it wrong. Because, if that product is not working, you don't have money to buy the next one. And this is exactly what the ladies were thinking. They have been fooled over many times by people coming and selling stuff to their village and then disappearing in nature. Right? So when they say it's too expensive, it doesn't mean that your product is too expensive. It just means they don't trust you. And this is actually the picture of the cooking exercise. Third problem, a bit more difficult, but it's like people tell you that it's not what they need, that what you're offering them is not solving the problem. And for this, let me fly you to Bogota City. Beautiful city, thriving. But there is a lot of youth in employment. Right? A lot of people are trying to fix the problem, including the state, pumping billions into building training centers and so on. And the answer you get from the parents and the kids when you ask them, why don't you send them for further training so they can find a decent job? Oh, we cannot afford sending our kids to school no more, you know, like, and you're wondering, what's wrong with these parents, right? Ready to screw the future of the kids just for money? And then I've seen the solution, though. The solution is another entrepreneur, a Colombian, a doctor, who set up a series of training centers. And these work. Why do these work? Because first, he didn't build them in the center of Bogota city. He built them in the suburbs where these kids live. So they don't have to do 3 hours of commute into Bogota city every day. Second thing, he acknowledged the fact that they would never leave their, whatever day job or night job to come and study. So the study hours are completely flexible 24/7. And last thing he did, he made it paying. Not free like the public system, he made it paying. But, not 6 months upfront tuition fee. Rather, he say, you pay me when you have a bit of cash every week or so. Everybody pays him on time, or more or less, right? The kids find a job within 3 months, and they double their salary. So the solutions exist, right? The bottom line is that the solution exists. But we keep doing the wrong stuff, even when we have the solutions in front of our eyes. And for me, one of the most striking examples of that is one we see, you and me, every day. Here. I hope that everyone in the room recognizes that this picture is not about America, but about cigarettes. Hint, hint. And so I think this is about the smartest advertising campaign ever created last century. It works. Old and young, rich or poor, it makes you buy one of the most harmful and useless products every day, again and again, and it makes actually hard to quit. Because quitting would mean to leave behind a bit of that ideal, right? Of freedom, of having it on its own terms. And this is a beautiful example of something that works. So my question is like, why can't we do the same to sell the useful and life-changing stuff, right? And when you think about it, it's like if the anti-smoke people, and I'm one of them, right? The anti-smoke people, even despite having the right example in front of the eyes, what kind of campaign do they design? They put lung cancer pictures on the packets. And do a cowboy care about lung cancer picture? No. Should a cowboy care about, what vice or accident he or she will die of? No, that's not what cowboys do, right? So, putting a picture of lung cancer on a packet is something similar as to trying to selling cigarettes by saying, our cigarettes are 10 cents cheaper, they last longer in the mouth, they're made of organic tobacco, and they kill a bit less, right? Would you sell a cigarette with such an argument, right? So my question is like, what is wrong with us when the answers are so obvious? Right? And I think it's good news because the answer is very, very simple. With all due respect, we don't need more MBAs. We don't need PhDs in engineering. What we need is actually just a bit of empathy and imagination. And recognize oneself, your friends, your grandfathers, your family, into these old Tajik men, into these African mama, into these Colombian students. And also acknowledge that poor people don't need to be told or explained or lectured about what is good for them, because nobody likes that, right? But then you might be thinking, empathy is the easiest thing. Well, I'm afraid it's not. I struggled for a long, long time. And just to recap my life story, I was like, spending 8 years looking at the world's saddest problems, working for development institutions in very, very exotic places and trying very, very hard to save the world. Then I grew a bit frustrated. I went to private sector, did an MBA, did McKinsey, did investment finance. And the day I decided I would put my brains to work to solve the world's toughest problems, I was thinking, yeah, it's easy, come on. I've done so many things in my life. Come on, selling these beautiful products, you know, selling a cook stove, selling a toilet. Easy peasy. Well, not really. I did all the mistakes I was mentioning before. And actually, I realized that the more I was trying to learn, to apply what I learned at B School or at McKinsey, like the perfect, marketing framework, the perfect market survey, or whatever you name it, the more I was getting it wrong. The more I was trying to apply pre-cooked recipe, the more off I was, right? And it took me actually 20 years to realize that I should forget about all this and instead do one thing, which is imagine this. When you're confronting such problem and when you're with these people, there's just 3 things you need to do. Take a white page, stop, look and listen. Thank you.